test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to the 81 All Out podcast, where we party like it is 1992. I am Subhash Jayaraman and I'm joined by Hassan Chima. He's on Twitter as Media Gag. He has written for lots of places, including Cricinfo, and he's also the team manager for Islamabad United in the PSL. And we are reviewing the Pakistan versus New Zealand group match, 34th match in the 2019 World Cup. Hassan, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, Subhash. Always great to be the backup to Amr.
Well, we don't want to get...
Can't compete with him, man.
Yes, exactly. We don't want you to have a bigger ego.
Yeah.
So, is it 1992?
I think I'm the last Pakistani left who doesn't believe that whole meme is what you'd call it, right?
Yeah, hashtag 1992 maybe यही हुआ था.
Yeah, 90. Like I'm at the stage where I've spent like the past 4 or 5 years in Pakistan cricket. I've tried to understand it by logic, have completely failed to do so. And this whole tournament, more than anything else, is like the personification of that. Like I just posted this stat on Twitter. But Pakistan in bilateral series against teams ranked higher than them since the 2015 World Cup have won 6 games and lost 31. Mm-hmm. And Pakistan in ICC events have won 6 games and lost 3. And that does not make any sense. But I guess Pakistan doesn't.
I mean, I saw that tweet from you as well. 6-31 and 6-3. It does kind of make sense. The other side of it is you would see how England have rampaged in bilateral series and have come to ICC events and haven't done anything, right? So, considering these two are the extremes, bizarre world, Pakistan and England exist in their respective bizarre worlds. It does make sense.
When you have like a diving competition and swimming competition, when you have those judges' results, you take out the lowest and the highest, and then you have, right?
Yeah.
So in any probability, you just take out England and Pakistan now.
I mean, you would say that England has the team that, given a 5-game series, will learn enough about the opposition in the process of playing that they'll eventually win the series. Whereas Pakistan, they kind of rely on sparkling performances, like the non-average performances to win the game. So which kind of makes sense in ICC events, whereas as opposed to bilateral series. I mean, I'm just talking out of my ass. I could be completely wrong, but...
Yeah, I think it's also sort of a mental thing. Like, Amr mentioned it in the last podcast that these guys perform well when they've got a chip on their shoulder, but also India matches aside, when these guys have to deal with especially a gory team, when they have to deal with the mental fortitude sort of thing, it's sort of like the pressures that these guys go through, Desi cricketers, even if you add Bangladesh to that, in normal life, when that pressure is increased to an ICC event, those guys can sort of still deal with that, and guys who aren't used to that sort of pressure tend to wilt under it. That's the closest approximation to logic that I have for this.
I mean, given your background, you blogged and then you wrote for many outlets, and actually now we are dealing with players, not just from Pakistan, but, from across the world, except India, I suppose. I'm sure you can make a solid claim based on your interactions, can't you?
Yeah, I like if you talk to a South African, they'll admit to basically all the the memes and the stereotypes about South Africans under pressure. If you talk to an Australian, they won't say it, but if you read between the lines, it's obvious what Australianism is. And Pakistan is sort of like Pakistan is the George Costanza ka wo quote hai na. It's not a lie if you believe it. Pakistan is basically that. Like I remember before the 2017 Champions Trophy semi-final, I was talking to a couple of players, Pakistan wale ke kya scene hai, what's the situation like? And they're like, England ko to hum hara rahe hain. We're facing India in the final. Likha hua hai. And I'm like, what do you mean likha hua hai? It's Ramzan, na? So we are beating England in the semi-final. Obviously, we're beating England. And I'm like, okay. And then they beat them. And afterwards, I'm like, I talked to them and they're like, we knew we were going to beat England. And it's like, that was the first moment I noticed that the George Costanza thing, it's not a lie if you believe it. And these guys actually believe a lot of the stuff that you or I or anyone logical might find, far-fetched.
On that, coming back to that hashtag 1992 maybe AU hota. You and I, and I'm sure there are a few others that would say kya bakwas hai. But
Yeah.
Actually, from Twitter meme, now it has officially entered the broadcast also. Like I think towards the end of the Pakistan-New Zealand match, which we should say that Pakistan won quite convincingly. That thing came up on the screen itself. Ian Smith and I think Ramesh Raja, they were on commentary at the time. Or maybe Simon Dole and Ramesh Raja. Where
it actually came up in the first innings before the whole thing. When I think New Zealand were like 3 or 4 down, already they started it, and it does not make any sense.
So I mean, so is it? Are there enough people believing in that lie that it's going to become the truth? If you don't think so, looking at the team and the remaining games and England is still an outside. Obviously, England are odds-on favorite to still make it to the semi-final in the 4th spot. Yeah. From that point of view, to say that it's not 1992. What other things do you have in your pocket to say, what, calm down, it's not 92?
I think the first thing is, if you'd asked me before the South Africa game, which match I see most likely Pakistan losing for them, having 4 wins in a row to qualify for the semifinals, I would have said Bangladesh or maybe New Zealand. New Zealand because of the quality, but Bangladesh because Bangladesh is also sort of in that zone of it's our time now. Mm-hmm. So I think that game is going to define a lot. The England thing, I don't trust England at all right now. Like Stokes aside, that's 2 games in a row. I don't go the way that the Shoaib Akhtar KP guys go. Diler nahi hai, he's not brave enough, that sort of bullshit. You can't talk about someone's mental strength. Like what Babar showed in today's game, that is mental strength. But when you're going to talk about a lot of times commentators talk about when the pressure is put on, there's a wicket right around the corner. A lot of that is a mental game. Like you start believing that I'm going to make a mistake that's going to cost me here. And like Hafeez does, guys make obvious mistakes in those moments. Like they can't deal with that. That I understand. But saying that someone's, being scared of pace or anything like that, that is a different sort of kettle of fish altogether.
Talking of pace, Shaheen Afridi.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that spell. Osman tweeted and saying it's the best spell of the tournament. He's declared it. Osman declared it. Matlab, it's a truth. What did you? I mean, he's the authority. So what did you make of the spell by Shaheen Afridi? And what did you make of him missing matches during the World Cup?
So the Shaheen thing sort of goes back to, I remember I was doing a piece on FATA back in like early 2017. And also like at the same time, the whole conflict of interest that I am now a master, and I was also looking for players over there because like right across the border, and a lot of the club cricket in Peshawar and like the same border areas, all these Afghan spinners come from. Like there's like a half dozen of them that people haven't even seen who are like really good as well, who just can't get in because Mujib, Nabi and Rashid are so good. But so I was looking for that, basically a backup to Shadab sort of a thing. And at that time, like everyone that I talked to, I was like, is there a guy coming through? And it's like, there's this kid, Riaz Afridi's brother. Oh, he's so good. He's so good. And like the first 2 times you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And then you hear there's this kid who is as tall and as Stark and wants to bowl like Stark, which first you sort of think, how sad is it that a Pakistani left arm fast bowler
What's the ball like an Aussie left arm? Yeah, I know.
and then that is a little disheartening. But then you realize that the guy was like 2-3 years old when Wasim Bhai played his last game. So like
Yeah.
obviously it makes sense. So from that point on, he's been sort of a myth being built, and like first class game he takes an 8 for has a really good under 19 World Cup, has a really good first PSL, just it gets fast tracked into the team, gets hit around in the Asia Cup. That's the first time there's like question marks over him. Goes to South Africa, is by far the best bowler there. And then in the South Africa series, he sort of plays through injury and loses a bit of his vim and a little bit of his confidence. One of the things that uh, I had never considered, but it's like something that cricketers have repeatedly said to me is that when you're a young guy, the first year or 2 years, you don't actually know, if you're a fast bowler, you don't actually know what you're doing. You're just bowling like out of adrenaline and out of just, out of pure talent.
I remember Wasim Akram also mentioning that when he came into the Pakistan team, Imran Khan asked him like bowl a Yorker. He said, "What is a Yorker?" He, was, he didn't know what a
Okay,
Yorker
that's a
was.
bit much. Yeah, that's a bit much, but like you'll see a lot of guys the first season of first class cricket, they'll be swinging it around, and like by year 2, year 3, when they're trying to do that thing rather than letting it happen naturally, they don't have that sort of control over it. So Shaheen sort of went through that phase over the past 6 months or so, and also the injuries and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it obviously makes sense when you've got Wahab, you've got Amir, and you've got Hassan, that he sits outside. He's ideally built as a new ball bowler, right? That is in this whole team. Like Amir is getting wicket after wicket this World Cup, but even then, Amir is not bowling that. Like Berendorf bowled yesterday.
Yeah.
Like Stark caught the wickets as well, but that's like a pure new ball spell. Like Shaheen is that guy. Shaheen swing the ball like on a very good length. And the thing with Shaheen is because he's tall, even like a slightly like a 6.5 meter ball, which is like between. I mean, I don't know why people have started calling it the slot, but that's another debate altogether. But between the full length and the good length, because of his extra height, that ball then. Rather than becoming like a front foot ball, people still play that from the crease, so that is his length.
Yeah.
But Pakistani guys, especially tall Pakistani guys, and like Irfan had the same issue. They as soon as they get hit around, they immediately go to back of a length, because when they're playing domestic cricket, because no Pakistani outside of Babar can really play cross bat
Horizontal shot. Yeah.
Horizontal bat shot. So like as soon as you go back of length, that basically means you've got like 2 to 3 dots just to calm yourself down. So he went back into that, except he was playing Australia, which like was a problem. So he gets hit around. When this match started, and I was like, swooning over his lengths, it was because he was just hitting those lengths like over and over and over again. And his wrist, considering his wrist position, considering the natural bounce that he has, considering the rhythm that, I was mentioning to someone recently that Pakistan, rather than having a psychologist, Pakistan need to have a hypnotist who tells all of the bowlers before they go out to bowl that they've already taken the wicket. Because a Pakistani bowler, after he's taken Pakistani bowler before he's taken the wicket, are like two completely different creatures.
Same thing was said about Harbhajan Singh too. Like the moment he gets a wicket, suddenly he gets more overspin. The ball is like bouncing off good length.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Amir's been an ideal example of that. But today, like as soon as Monroe edged Shaheen to slip, Shaheen has just this like that has this rhythm, and like he's getting his follow through, and there's no coaching to that. That's just just putting the ball on a length, and the ball is doing the rest for you. And that was what he did. Like he bowled 7 overs. The seventh over probably was 1 over too much, but the first 6 overs I thought was the best new ball spell a Pakistani has bowled like in years.
Now let me ask you this. After the great spell ends, even after that, Ken Williamson gets caught behind of Shadab Khan, but then the partnership builds with the Grand Arm and the good man Jimmy Neesham. The partnership starts as the partnership reaches 50, as the partnership reaches 100, what are you thinking?
I think the natural state of being for any Pakistan observer is pure pessimism. So, like at that moment, you're thinking, well, of course they're going to score 250. Like 220 is the minimum, but they'll score 250. And you're thinking that when they're like 110 for five, like that's just your natural state of being. But the other thing is Pakistan. Like there's, I love again. I don't want to turn this whole podcast into a media commentator bashing thing. Even though both of us love to do that, but like one of the things that you'll see over and over again in commentary is the captain, ex-captain who is now commentator will always be more aggressive in the commentary box than he was ever on the field. So they're like, oh, you just keep pushing, you bring in like the 12 guys inside the circle and all that stuff. But the thing at that moment for Pakistan is, like we say it in Urdu, that lalchi nahi hona. You don't need, you can't,
greedy.
and Pakistan, especially Shadab. Like I know Shadab much more closely than even most of the Pakistani guys. And Shadab, before the Williamson wicket and then his last 2-3 overs, was really greedy. He was trying to, okay, every ball I need to, this ball I'm going to get a wicket. Rather than, building a spell and all that stuff, he was getting greedy. And that was the state with the whole Pakistan team. And that is where Pakistan tend to lose their way, which they're so close to getting over the line and they just
get breaking the game open. Yeah.
And then it gets easier because it's like Wahaz bowling wide not half bodies but wide full balls because he wants to get that edge. And like you're Wahab Riaz, like you've literally never done that in your life. So then Grandhome does, has a couple of dives, he gets through them. Shadab wants to bowl that quick flipper. That instead becomes a short ball. He gets a 6 from there. And suddenly it's like they've got runs on the board. Guys are in. Again, one of the things that frustrates me with like commentary is I've spent like the last 4 years with all these cricketers and the amount of knowledge that they have. Like you and I don't even know like 20% of that, but they never tell you that when they're in commentary box or like in analysis. So like one of the things is that the kookaburra always spins more the first 20 to 25 overs. Because once the seam goes down, it doesn't really bite off the surface like, a Duke ball or an SG ball would.
Yeah.
So, and like, instead of talking about that, you're talking about, and which, by the way, today, like, we'll come to that, but one of the mistakes that New Zealand made was not getting Santner through those overs earlier.
Yep.
But going back to that, but Pakistan getting the greedy and the ball then getting soft and like guys getting used to the pitch. And like the other thing is, you want to talk about, I remember you had just had a tweet recently about mental strength, right? About character, rather, right?
Right. Everybody wants to talk about character. Yeah.
Everybody. So like character is what Jimmy Neesham and Colin de Grandhomme showed today. Like these guys are in the team to be bashers. Neesham's more of a batsman, but like de Grandhomme's role is to be the basher. And he comes like for 30 balls, he just restrains himself. Doesn't want to, like he still makes mistakes because he's not technically of the level that an elite player is. But he just holds himself back, doesn't go for that big booming drive. He gets the wide ball. He wants to just time it for a single to the sweeper at cover. He doesn't want to, he holds himself back from playing his natural game, which apparently was you're supposed to play your natural game all the time. But the best players are those who don't always play their natural game.
I want to ask you about Sarfraz. He copped a fair bit from everybody, ex-players, media, Twitter, and even some random guy in a mall in England, whatever, right? He copped a shit ton of bullshit from everybody, completely unfair, undeserved bullshit. But he takes a fantastic catch of Ross Taylor. And now that with all the similarities of 1992 and Pakistan beating New Zealand, when does he become the Prime Minister?
I think one of the problems is from Karachi, and I can't even remember that. I don't think we've ever had Karachiite prime minister. Even if it did that, it must have been one of those puppet ones. So I don't think that's happening. Like I'm sure guys would like to imagine that, but like it's a cricket podcast. We don't want to get too much into that,
Yeah,
but I don't.
apologies. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's get into Pakistan's innings. Sure, Imam and Fakhar Zaman, they start off. You expect Bolt to get a wicket. You expect Lockie Ferguson to get a wicket with a hard new ball. But after that, can you talk about Babar's awesome innings? And two, can you also talk about Mohammad Hafeez's dismissal?
Okay, this is the innings that we've been waiting for from Babar for 4 years now. Babar's got crazy numbers. He's averaging 50 plus in ODIs and T20s.
And he's the fastest to 3,000 runs, is it?
Second fastest after
Second
Hashim
fastest
Amla.
after Amla.
Yeah. So like he's got all these records. But before today, he had 100 in a chase. The rest of his hundreds were batting first. He averages close to like 60 batting first and like 40 with like 10 points less in strike rate as well, batting second. He's just a pure Pakistani chaser. But he's the best version of a Pakistani chaser, but at the end of the day, he's a Pakistani chaser. And like every time he had even scores like 50s and 60s and that 100 that he had batting second, it's always been like Babar is selfish and Babar plays for his score and himself. And there's always been that sort of thing. And I've always found that to be a little bit unfair because the guy is like, 24 right now? He's still developing into the player that he's going to be. Yeah, he doesn't have the big shots required, to be a proper elite, the Kohli, Rohit Sharma, that sort of a level batsman. But that's going to come over time. Like, I'm sure Williamson at 23, 24 did not have the shots that he has right now. I'm sure Joe Root at 23, 24 did not have the shots that he has right now. Those things are going to come. But it's sort of like Pakistan. He's the first pure world-class batsman in terms of talent since Yusuf, right?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
Like even Yunus or Misbah or Azhar, those guys were like gritty fighters and they could put up scores. But this is for your Indian listeners here. So one of the guys was telling me recently that when the Asia Cup game was happening, Rohit scored 100. I think it was. I'm not sure if it was the first game or the second game. I think it was the second game because that was the one where he just was amazing. But, so he played like a shot against Shinwari or Shaheen, one of those two. And the guy who was at cover turned to the guy who was at mid-off or the other way around. One of those guys was an opener. I'm not going to name any names, obviously.
Okay, fair enough.
To that opener and he's like, ye hota hai batsman, tum log kya ho?
Oh!
So it's like there's, we always talk about, and like jokingly, not like, it wasn't like a taunt or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we talk about Pakistanis and Indians having this sort of camaraderie that the players have, and all of those guys have this thing. Like, I think Rohit, obviously Kohli, and Williamson, those are the three guys that when I talk to like Pakistani guys, there's sort of ki yaar, kya batsman hai yaar, that sort of thing, right? So Babar is the first guy in 20 years we've had who is even close to that in terms of, when Lockie Ferguson was bowling, Hafeez was trying to have like, a heading practice with that, while Babar was just, aram se to the sweeper at extra cover, just getting singles.
I mean, the class was so good. Like when Mitchell Santner came back, we can talk about his first spell. Second spell when he came back, in that first over, I think the second ball and the third ball, the ball is still turning a lot. Sure, the seam is a little lower now, less proud, but it's still turning off the pitch. And you had the two slog sweeps to the exact same location. Like the second one was more emphatic than the first one. I mean, the guy, this is one bowler in the opposition that's probably can get you a wicket. And this guy is like so confident by the time that second delivery he bowls, slog sweep to square leg 4, and then third ball, same, he's tweaking it more, but then he hit it harder. Which that's when I saw like this. I mean, I knew obviously I've watched Babar for a while, but you can see that he's completely different from everybody else around him in that team.
And he knows that. By the way, he knows that. Like he won't say that like explicitly, but like even within the Pakistan dressing room, there's this thing like Haris has that timing touch, but
Mm.
everyone knows like barbers, they have a sort of uh, a respect for him, even though he's like essentially a junior, and you know how much in Desi culture the senior junior thing matters. But like they have this sense of yeah, this guy is something special.
Mm-hmm.
And that, but as I was saying, we've been waiting for 4 years for him to play that innings. Now maybe he's not built for a 320 sort of a chase, but like considering the pitches in this World Cup, the the innings that he played, the way, I mean, I just saw the Crickways guys have a number that Santner's first over had more spin than any match at Edgbaston going back to 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So, like that is what he's facing. He even gets an edge, a thick edge, so it wasn't like a real chance, but like he gets an edge in one of those balls, and he's really struggling. And Babar's a much better player of fast bowling, even like
Yeah.
express his fast bowling than he's of
I mean, his
spin.
back foot game is fantastic.
And like he that thing like he talked to they again going back to commentary, these guys always mention it all the time, but that's also one of the things that I've noticed being around these people, all these cricketers, is the concept of having time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is just that when they judge a guy, they don't judge him by his numbers, his chase, his mental strength, whatever it is. The bowler always says that guy has time to play
Yep.
my best ball. And like Babar has that. And Hafeez obviously today didn't have. I want to have a rant on Hafeez. Can I start now?
Sure.
So Mohammad Hafeez, he's the senior guy in this team.
Yeah.
He was almost forced out by Mickey Arthur like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Pakistan lost the Asia Cup. They're sort of having, balance issues. They need a sixth bowler, but also a batsman who has multiple gears. He's always been built ideally for that. Pakistan wanted him to bat at 5 or 6. He refuses. I'm a top order batsman. He's been telling himself that. It's again the George Costanza line uh, that I'm a top order batsman. Of course, it's a lie, but he believes it, so he's going to live by that lie. He's going to live and die by that lie, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's back in the team. He's playing at number 4 because of the top 3. Pakistan suddenly have like the best trio of batsmen they've had since Yunus, Yusuf, and Inzi in the mid 2000s. So it's like he has extra time. So when he comes into bat, he's facing spin or he's facing death bowling, and he's always been. I believe that he's always been ideally built for the last 15 overs of the innings. Like his best innings, you think of like the Champions Trophy final or like the England innings in this World Cup. His best are those where he has those last 20 overs to really, work the game around. That's where his experience comes in and all that sort of thing. Anyway, so he has that England innings, extraordinary innings. He's the guy in form. He's the senior batsman. Whatever Pakistan is going to do in this World Cup, a lot of that is going to rely on Hafeez. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So go into the India game.
Yeah.
Babar and Fakhar get out to Kuldeep.
Yeah.
And we all know what Hafeez does.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Pressure game.
He timed it. He timed it too well.
Okay, whatever. So he gets out that way. That's fine. Sometimes you have, like Butler had yesterday, sometimes you just have a shot.
Yeah.
You just think that you take on the boundary rider, even though it's a high risk shot.
Yeah.
You shouldn't play that in like a big pressure game, but you back yourself because these guys are international cricketers because they've always backed themselves to an unreal degree in their whole lives. Yeah, makes sense. Next game you've got against Australia.
Finchy.
So 136 for 2. Pakistan needed less than 7 runs an over. Pakistan have bowled really well in the last 20 overs. Pakistan have batted for 25 overs. Imam gets out. I don't even remember. I think Malik or Sarfraz comes in. So now Hafeez is the set batsman. He's batting in the mid 40s. He needs to, just take over this innings. Full toss from Finchy, straight to square leg. Okay. So when you're going to the next game, your mindset, if I'm in the dressing room, I'm running the dressing room, I'm talking to him, I'm like, so, let's just not have any lapses of concentration. You've had 2 consecutive games where you had that. Just, be the senior guy. Take this young team along. Be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
That game is against South Africa, right?
Mm-hmm. Markram. Against Markram, yeah.
Yeah. So Imran Tahir is bowling. He's got Imam out. I think he's got both the first 2 wickets.
Yep.
He bowls in a full toss, same as Finchie. He plays the sweep shot. And again, Finchie was bowling left-arm spin, so ball is turning away.
Mm-hmm.
The sweep is a low percentage shot. Tahir is doing the same. He plays a sweep shot just over the square leg, gets a 6. Next over, plays a sweep shot again, gets hit on the body. South Africa review, it's missing. But it's like, you got out last game.
Kuch to seekh le. Huh.
You got out last game, you almost got it last over. Let's not play that. Next over by Markram, plays the sweep, gets LBW.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, we need to have, this is the sort of thing, like if I'm running a dressing room, I just go to his hotel room, I'm like, we need to have a conversation sort of a thing. Next game. So Santner is spinning the ball big. Babar is not a great player of spin. You, on pure talent, you're the senior guy. You've been playing in the UAE for like 10 years. You're a don in the UAE. Have that innings.
I mean, the shitty thing about this is...
No, let me finish.
Let me say, like, Brendan McCullum, he's like, oh, Ken Williamson is bringing himself on because he knows Mohammad Hafeez does not respect part-timers, so he's going to get out to him. I mean, and the next ball he gets out. I mean, like,
not even that. Before that. So you've gotten out playing sweep shot to the away spinning guys, right?
Yeah.
I think the first or second ball from Williamson, he plays a reverse sweep.
Yes.
The man's played less than 100 reverse sweeps probably in his ODI career. And the first time he's actually facing an off spinner, the first time the sweep is a high percentage shot. No, now I'm going to play the reverse. And I'm like, acha yaar, jaise teri marzi. Then, so Williamson, the ball is turning big. You've seen it turn big for Santner. It'll turn even a little bit for Williamson. Later in the innings, you see Babar has mid-off up against Santner, I think Williamson, and Babar goes inside out. So even if the ball has some extra spin, it hit the inside half of the bat and it'll go over the bowler's head. Right? That's like a high percentage lofted shot. You've got the circle guy in. This is like pure T20 batting, how you calculate what T20 batting is, right? How you calculate what hitting is. There's always going to be 4 to 5 guys inside the circles. You're always going to have one lofted shot available to you all the time. Hafeez, if you go and go back and look at the shot that he got out to today,
he wanted
to hit it over long on. The long on was back. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
So I mean, there's a reason in Pakistan every cricketer calls him professor. Like professor thinks the ball is spinning, I'm going to hit it over leg side. If it spins extra, it'll go further.
To mid-wicket. It'll go to mid-wicket.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's like, I have sympathy with Malik. Malik's issue is a technical sort of a thing and like he's out of form. I have sympathy with the way he's getting out. What Hafeez has done in this World Cup since the England game, and the fact that he's in form, the fact that he went through that Lockie, like if I or you went through that Lockie Ferguson spell, we'd be like, fucking hell, man, I'm going to really enjoy this innings. I'm going to make a mark. This is going to be my swan song innings. Remember when Hafeez faced Lockie Ferguson bowling 150 kph, got hit on the head twice, but he was determined to play through it, and he carried Pakistan's chase. Hafeez like, nahin, main nahi karta.
Listen, I wanna also talk about Harris Sohail, him not getting picked and then getting picked to knock back-to-back innings, all that stuff. But we're running out of time. I'm sure we'll talk again during this tournament where we can talk about Harris in detail.
Yeah.
Now,
That's the whole story.
I know. So I want to wrap this up. Where does Pakistan go from here?
I think the Bangladesh game, it's going to be hilarious, by the way, if Pakistan win the Bangladesh game and lose the Afghanistan game, because considering, again, the geopolitics of the past 12 months and the relationship between both the countries and both the teams. I mean, if Pakistan get knocked out because of Afghanistan, I mean, lock the doors and log
Well,
off.
if Pakistan get knocked out of because of Bangladesh, also, there is obviously historical background to that.
Bangladesh is still, it's the the wound is not as fresh.
Fair enough.
They have this, like, one of the things that it's fascinating to me is, like, Pakistani fans, any team that's ranked higher than them, they have, like, so much respect for them, like, we aren't even worthy to play against them. And any team that's ranked below them, it's like, why do these guys even play cricket? Like, there's this sense of, if you lose to Bangladesh, like, Pakistan lost 3-0 to Bangladesh right after the 2015 World Cup. And that was, I remember being on TV at the time, that was like a national emergency. And, like, people are saying, we knew this would happen. Pakistan, look where we've come. Pakistan are losing to Bangladesh. Motherfucker, they were in the quarterfinal of the World Cup. They're a damn good team.
Yep.
It's like, Bangladesh se haar rahe hain. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Do you have Pakistan winning both those games or one of the two games?
I don't know. Like, मेरी समझ से बाहर है यार ये team.
Okay.
Honestly, like, with all due respect, like, whatever I know about cricket, whatever I've learned from all these cricketers, मेरी तो समझ से बाहर है ये team. Like, you tell me कि जी Pakistan, Amir going to go for 10 overs, 1 for 67. New Zealand are going to win the toss and bat first. And Pakistan's going to reduce them to 240. You think, okay, then that means कि कोई scene नहीं है, because ऐसी pitch है कि कोई score हो ही नहीं सकता.
But then they win by 6 wickets.
You look at the scorecard right now. I just saw, I think, I just saw a notification pop up on my phone saying Pakistan cruised to victory against New Zealand. And I'm like, that wasn't no cruising, man. वो आखिरी 10 ओवर होगी cruising, आखिरी 15 ओवर होगी cruising.
Yeah.
The first 35 overs, there was nothing, there was no cruising happening there.
Yeah.
Both of us, like, there was ClickWiz just posted the stat that Pakistan had 25% false shots.
I know, New Zealand had 16% false shots.
New Zealand had 16%, and like 25% maybe, like, Babar had 124 balls, and he would have had 15? 20 at most. So then
other people had more, a lot more.
And Haris had, like, after the first 15 balls, had a pretty chanceless sort of innings. So that basically means the first 20 overs, like, every shot Pakistan played was a false shot.
Anything could have happened, really.
The numbers, Pakistan shouldn't even have chased this down. But, like, Pakistan shouldn't have won against England. Pakistan maybe should have won against South Africa, because South Africa...
you expect, I mean, when New Zealand's inning was coming to an end, I thought if New Zealand scored more than 220, it's game over for Pakistan. Based on conditions and the bowlers the New Zealand have and the batsmen Pakistan have. Basically you have to take Babar out and then you lose the anchor of the team. But that didn't happen. So kudos to Babar.
I'm like, Bangladesh game, Afghanistan game, depends on which Pakistani guy just decides to stand up and, even today, Williamson, until that Shadab ball, had, I think, one inside edge against Wahab. And it was like, whoever the other guys can't even get the bat on the ball, Neesham, Taylor, whoever it is like really struggling with Shaheen's lengths and all that. And Williamson, every single ball is like in the middle of the bat. Like almost like there's a magnet there, right in the middle of the bat, right under his eyes. And he'll just drop it down at his feet. Ki yaar, ye lo ball uthao, dobara kar lo bowling.
Yeah.
So, and Pakistan getting Williamson out there, that changed the game.
Yeah.
Shaheen bowling like the best spell of his career, that changed the game. But it's like, you're having you needed Shaheen bowling the best spell of his career and Babar playing the best innings of his career to beat New Zealand. What are you going to need against Bangladesh? What are you going to need against Afghanistan? If you still have like 2 guys, 4 guys stepping up in those 2 games, then yeah, Pakistan should go to the semi-final. But like probability-wise, it doesn't make sense. But like this whole World Cup campaign, the India game aside, Pakistan, it hasn't been about probability at all.
Okay. On that note, Hassan, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure.
Mine too. It's finally good to catch up with you.
Yeah.
And thank you all for listening. Log on to 81allout.com to get access to the podcast and also every other podcast streaming service. You can get 81 All Out. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
In the air, Srishan takes it. India win. He'll come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for 2. India at home. Lords goes wild.